AI. Thanks for coming and a practical introduction of AI. That's what we're going to be covering today for the next hour. So just quickly to acknowledge that we're on land. And it's quite funny because normally I'm doing these workshops online and we have people from all over the place. So it's nice to be actually all on one land this time. A little bit about myself. So my name is Alex. I've worked in the not-for-profit spaces, especially small and medium sort of not-for-profits, and also within the government space for over 20 years. So I definitely know the sector and what it's like when you're wearing multiple hats and stretched for time and resources, as we often are in small and medium not-for-profits. And a few years back, I saw AI as it started to evolve, those what's known as large language models, things like ChatGPT. And I thought, oh, this is amazing. This is a really great tool when you're, hi, welcome. When you're in that space of, needing to wear multiple hats or, needing to do things with those limited resources. And I started to see how the big boys and the big toys, the big companies started to get the power of this tool very quickly because they had the resources to do it. And I thought, well, that's not really fair. And I want AI to be used by people who are, doing things with a purpose. So that's why I started this consultancy in February this year. So it's kind of a new adventure for me as well. But I've been trained as a teacher, so I do love the sound of my own voice and talking to you guys. And so, that's a little bit about me. Oh, and I did some online courses through the University of Helsinki to get those fundamental understanding of AI and the ethics of AI. So that was the two postgraduate courses that I did. So what I've tried to do in this 1 hour is to condense all of that learning from 6 months into a 1 hour session. So obviously it's going to be in some parts high level, but I really try to make it very practical and useful so that you can walk out of today with some real useful tips, tricks and skills that you can apply right away to your role. So you don't have to, it's not all going to be theory. We will start with a bit of theory though. So what's the goal? So if you go onto my website, I've got the kind of mapped out a little bit of a journey of how you can use AI inside the not-for-profit space or in your roles. And so I call this a course to get you from embarking, so sort of starting that journey, to getting to a point where you feel comfortable to be able to apply it in some tasks within your roles right away. So that's my aim for today. So it is that kind of foundational experience. So just by a quick show of hands, who uses things like ChatGPT sort of on a weekly basis at least already? Fantastic. All right, so more than half of you. Well, that's fantastic. Oh, okay, definitely more than half of you. Fantastic. So what I've done is I have put in some things here for those of you who are already feeling a bit confident, some more sort of advanced things as well, tips and tricks into this presentation, because I'm really keen that you get value out of today. And for those of you who don't use it regularly, well, that's great. You're in the right place, because today's about seeing the safety issues around using AI and knowing how to use it so that you can feel safe and confident that you can use it in a way that's appropriate. Do we have any questions before we kick off? Alrighty, excellent, let's go. So, if you have a look here, 2 images. I'm hoping that we all agree the image on the left is a duck, the image on the right is a cat, yes? Great, okay, we're on solid foundations. So, if you were pretending to be a computer programmer, I'd like to think, don't think like a human now, but if you had to be a computer programmer, you had to come up with a rule to find the cat picture, just a simple rule, what would that rule be? How would you make sure that you find the cat and not the duck?
Ears.
The ears, fantastic, that's a great rule. So if it has external pointy ears, it's a cat picture, yep. And so if this was your data, with that rule you would find the cat picture, no problem. Unfortunately, life is messy and we get more data. So does that rule still hold? Will we still find the cat picture? No, can't do it now. So what would we need to do?
Narrow it down.
Yeah, add some more rules maybe?
Pointy ears and whiskers.
Okay, I think horses do have some whiskers.
Yeah,
Unfortunately. Yep, but pointy ears and whiskers would get us closer. Small, yeah. Okay, so if it's pointy ears, whiskers and small.
And they go meow.
And they go meow. Yep, go past the visual context and get some additional information and data. Yeah, so as you can see, a computer has to use these kind of ways of trying to work out what it is, because a computer can't tell that that's a cat like we do. So we use our past experience, we use our memory and our mind and our learning from childhood to figure out what is a cat and what is a horse, what is a duck. Whereas a computer has to start from scratch. It doesn't know what any of those things are. And for a computer, these are just what's known as tokens, especially for AIs, they're going to be called tokens. So it just breaks the input into what's known as tokens and has to look at those tokens and figure out what they are to then figure out what's the appropriate output. So for an AI, it wouldn't even look at those pictures and say, that's a cat, that's a duck, that's a horse. What it would do is it'd say, oh, the first picture on the left is a 20% chance it's a cat. And the picture on the right is an 80% chance of being a cat. And the one at the bottom is maybe a 60% chance of being a cat. So I'm going to tell you the cat picture is that one in the top right corner. So that's the way an AI thinks. It doesn't think the way we think. It's got a very different way of approaching problems, which is both a benefit and, as we'll see, causes some issues as well. So we're going to, as we start to understand how an AI works, we can start to see what it's useful for, or it's not useful, where it's powerful, and where are the pitfalls. So very quickly, in simple terms, an AI system is a system that's designed to mimic that human thinking, but it is not human thinking. And what we're going to be playing with today are what's known as LLMs, large language models. Now, the reason it's called a large language model is because it's been trained on the entirety of all the data that's on the internet, plus some. So it has got billions and billions and billions of bits of information and data that sits behind these programs. They're incredibly, amazingly complex programs. So what happens is an AI takes your token. So if you typed into it, what is the weather in Melbourne, Ballarat, for example, and it can understand what that means. It's because each of those words, well, even some words are broken into parts, but each of those words, generally it's a word per token. Those tokens get put onto a map, and that map is not a two-dimensional map. That map is, every token is related to every other token with 11,000 different dimensions. So it's an incredibly complex map. And then from that, it takes its percentage values, it's got weights, and so from those weights it goes, this is the most likely next thing to put in there. So if we can kind of imagine that's what's happening in the background, that helps us understand how these work. So common myths and misconceptions. So again, like we've covered it, it doesn't think like a human. So if you think, why is my ChatGPT telling me this? This is wrong, or why is it doing this? It's got the, it's come up with a funny thing, or it's hallucinating is one of the terms that gets used. Well, it's because it's not thinking like a human. Okay, it's coming at the problem in a very, very different way. Another concern is that it's going to replace all jobs. Now, at the moment, there's some research being done on it that they're saying that the current level of LLMs probably can't replace all humans. Fantastic, that's great. That actually the most powerful combination is a human plus an AI. So when it's just an AI, it performs to a certain level. When it's just a human, we perform to a certain level. But when it's a human plus an AI, that's actually where the magic starts to happen. So that's good news for us in that, if we can use the AI as well, we can actually get the benefits from that. But the word of caution here is it doesn't take AI to replace all of us for it to become a problem. So the Great Depression back in the 1930s, the unemployment rate was it was 30%, which is huge. But as you can see, we can have a depression level event if the AI replaces 30% of us. So, and that is a realistic scenario because the AI currently can replace a lot of those kind of jobs where you're moving data from one thing to another. So those sort of jobs are definitely sort of at risk now. So it's a conversation that we need to start having as a society. How are we going to transition and look after everyone as we move to an AI-based economy? And finally, that people think, because it's a computer, it's objective or unbiased. And unfortunately, that's not true. Because AI is trained on the data from the internet, those unconscious or those biases that exist in that data has influenced the way that AI regurgitates or gives back answers to us. So what that means is, there was a study done like literally last week, which came out and showed, they showed an AI, which was being a hiring manager type AI, and they said, here's a CV and here's an identical CV, how much should they get paid? And there was one change. One was male, one was female. And the AI came back with, $100,000 for this dude and $80,000 for this lady. And so as you can see, just from that one little change, the AI's got those inherent biases. So we've got to be careful when we're using AI to realise that there are those biases sitting within the training data. And so it's always, it's always on us to check the information and make sure that we're using it, with our own human judgment and evaluation. Okay, why does it matter now? So there is no 2025 study at the moment, but there's a company in America called McKinsey who does a lot of these studies on how is AI being used in industry. And what they found was as you can see there, from 2023, 55% of US companies said that they're using AI in at least one workflow, and that's up to 78% now. So it is rapidly expanding. Like, most places are starting to take on and use AI, and by the time the 2025 study comes out, sometime later this year, I'm sure it's going to be even higher. So we're not at the forefront anymore of using it. Like, we need to get on board because it is becoming a thing that people are using. And also, that just an interesting aside, that's the official figures. There has been another study done that I was reading the other day, which is talking about shadow use of AI. So that means AI being used by people in the organisation that's not sanctioned by the organisation. So that's where people are going, well, I'm getting value out of AI to use it, but the bosses don't technically, know, or it's not part of the official workflow. So those numbers might actually be higher in terms of who's actually using it. There's studies showing that with AI, we are more efficient, we can be more creative, and it can lead to better decision making. So there was an example in San Francisco, a homelessness shelter was using AI to help them triage and work out what sort of services the person presenting would need. And the AI judgments were actually reducing the need for those people to come back to the service by a significant margin compared to sort of human assessors. So human plus AI assessors, versus just human assessors. So it was really interesting to see that in all sorts of contexts, because AI is able to deal with large volumes of data quickly and summarize it very quickly, that's like a power boost to the people in those situations. And AI in the not-for-profit sector, so I've seen it used from, really those foundational sort of things like helping you write emails, helping you write reports, helping you deal with donors, all the way up to really complex things like Red Cross Australia has been reported as using it for translation services, using the AI to quickly disseminate emergency information in multiple languages so that multiple groups can get them really quickly. So yeah, the AI usage in the not-for-profit sector has got a lot of potential, got a lot of things that we can do with it. All right, that's enough of me talking. Oh, there's one last thing about me talking, sorry. So staying safe with AI. So this is really important because we're just about to dive into using it now. Keep your personal and private information away from AI. So there's been a court case in America recently. OpenAI was taken to court and they've had to produce what people have been putting in, what's known as prompting, so the stuff you type into the AI. And they've had to, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, has had to produce what people have been typing into AI for this court case. And OpenAI was able to produce all of the stuff that people have been typing into it. So there is no privacy when you put stuff into AI. Like, just imagine that. So when you put something into AI, always imagine it's kind of like social media. Whatever you put out there, imagine it can be seen by anyone and everyone. So if you do it that way, if that's your sort of rule of thumb, that's my rule of thumb, anything you put into AI can be seen by anyone, so don't, keep your personal and private information away from it, especially things like client information. It's really important you keep that away from the AI. Now there are workarounds, there are ways to use the AI so that you still get the benefit of it without divulging those sensitive information, which we'll explore in a moment. But yeah, whatever you put into it, imagine it's public. Sounds good. All right. So what we're going to do is, first one is, I'd love you to get onto ChatGPT now. Has everyone managed to get onto that website? Excellent. You can do there is a free version that you can get on. Unfortunately, the free version is getting less and less generous as time goes on. When I first started this, I was using the free version and for a lot of things. I've now had to go to paid version just because I use it so much.
Is it very dear?
It's $20 a month, I believe. Yeah. But I'm not affiliated with any company. I stay completely separate from all of them because ChatGPT is just one of them. If you don't mind your data going to China, there is DeepSeek, which is free and has a kind of a larger bandwidth than the American ones. There's Claude, which is good for coding, but also does pretty much what ChatGPT does as well. There's Perplexity.ai, which is very limited but really good for some things, and I'll talk about that in a bit. And of course, there's also the ones that are bundled in with Microsoft, so there's Microsoft Copilot. But I find that one, Copilot's useful for some things, but it's not quite as broad as ChatGPT. So, yeah.
So I'm asking, so because you use it a lot, is have it picked up that you're using it a lot and that's why it's now charging you? And how does it? Really?
No, so there's actual limits.
You're
So,
speaking right now, that's actually,
sorry?
you're using your own words now, aren't you?
Yeah.
What do you
So,
mean?
no, so there's actual limits. So if you use the free version, and you'll see after you've used it, like, for 10 or 15 sort of inputs, it might start to say you're no longer allowed to use the top tier model anymore. You're going to be put down to a lower tier model. And I've had some of my other clients who are using it suddenly go, hey, it suddenly just stops. Like, it won't even let me input anything more. It says you can't use it until 2:45 tomorrow or something. It gives you time limits on how much you can use it. Yeah, whereas if you've got the paid version, those limits are like so broad that I haven't even hit them, and I use it like a lot. So, but there are limits still there. So
I have a few versions. For instance,
Yeah.
I have signed like when you can into the new one at the beginning. That's why it allows me to give everything free.
Yeah.
Still there is no limitation.
all right, okay.
But nowadays, if you want to sign in with a ChatGPT, there is a limitation. Now.
Yeah.
You have to pay or.
Yep. Yeah, it's
There is
unfortunately it's
advantage for everyone.
it is getting more limited in some ways. Yeah. All right. So what I'd like you to do is, if you've got like an email that you need to do sometime soon, obviously don't give it too much information. Like I said, keep the personal private information out of it. But like, say for example, I want to write an email to a student to say, reminder, your work is due tomorrow or something like that. If I'm just making up an example. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is, so you get into ChatGPT. So, just really quickly, for those who are not familiar with it, I'll show you a few key things. Sorry, I missed that bit. So here there's a button which says Add. So you can actually add photos and files. If you've got the paid version, you've got agent mode, which we see, it actually tells you how many you've got left, 40 left. Deep research, create images. You can talk to your ChatGPT and it'll actually type it in for you, so you don't have to type it by hand. Interestingly, literally this morning I was watching an interview with a chief advertising officer for some big American company who said his productivity skyrocketed when he realized he could actually just talk in his stuff, so he doesn't have to type it all out manually. If you're a slow typer, that can actually be a productivity boost just there. So you can dictate to it. If you need a new chat, you can press new chat here.
What's the deep research bit?
Yeah, we'll go into that on the second activity. Yeah.
Do you want us to do this sign up for free, or are we just
Yeah.
asking it?
Yeah, just sign up for free. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, you got GPT Mini for free. Okay. Yep. No, so it's just chatgpt.com. Yep. You can actually you can even do it without signing up. I think it gives you like 3 inputs, maybe.
No.
Oh, you've got more?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never been knocked back.
Oh, wow. There you go. Did you use it from right at the start? Because I've heard that some people who've got legacy accounts, have you logged in or not logged in?
No, not logged
Oh,
in.
not logged in and still not living. Wow, very lucky.
I'm just saying, what you're saying as well, I just type whatever and it never kicks me.
I just keep going.
Okay. Well, look, use it while if you can use it for free, use it for free. Definitely.
So I won't just.
Yeah.
Like I use it for uni, like I ask it.
No, if you're finding it, you don't need to log in.
And like
Yeah, don't log
condense
in.
information.
So just quickly, so what's something like that you'd have to do? Would you write an email to a student or telling them, where's your work? Okay.
Telling them they
I'm
need it.
I'm turning on temporary chat because I don't want my ChatGPT to learn this stuff about me. But and just to let you know, some people say if you turn on temporary chat, you're safe because the information's not being kept. No, you're not safe. Okay, so anything because of the way AI works, anything you put into that prompt goes to their servers to get processed by the AI algorithm, the program. So it sits there within their servers. So it doesn't matter if you put in temporary chat, doesn't matter if you say no training, there is an option to say exclude my data from training. None of that matters. It's all come out in the court case that AI.
It is trying to bring this.
Yeah, it's all sitting
How do
there.
you contact?
So let's say, so please write me an email to
I just
Luke.
stick to mine.
His work is due
Did you see
tomorrow.
that they some
All right, so here's a really basic, as you can see, here's a really basic email that comes up.
Hey there, I've got a really great feeling about.
So it says here, hey Luke, just a quick reminder your work is due tomorrow, please make sure everything's ready to go, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, it's an okay generic sort of email. But what we can do is we can actually start to use it a bit more intelligently. So what we can do is what's known as prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is just a fancy term for telling the AI, giving it more instructions and rules on how to get to the outcome that you want. So the first one is role. So what does that mean? So a role, you can actually assign a role to your AI and say to it, so if you're doing a social media post, for example, you could actually say, role, be a social media expert. And then what it's doing is, the reason this works is because what you're doing is you're saying, don't look at your whole map, don't look at that general map, focus on the part of your map, the part of your training data that came from social media experts. You know, if you want to do some communication, say you're a communication expert, so now it's not looking at the whole map, it's looking at the part of its map, which is coming from communication experts. If you wanted to come up with some, you know, lesson designs, you know, put in, I want you to be a lesson design expert, or an educational expert, or a content expert. And what you're doing is, again, you're focusing the large language model down to the map of where it's actually coming from. So that's role. Then context. So in that email I said, tell Luke. I didn't give any context. I didn't say who Luke was, what the task was, you know, anything. It's just super generic. But the more context you can give, and I put in the brackets safely, so remember, don't put in personal and private information into that context, but the more context you can give it, the better. Now again, with your communication, if you're communicating to external audiences, something that is very safe to use is any wording that's on your own external facing websites. So what you can say is, write this email to, you know, this donor, or write this email to, you know, this client, but make it in alignment with the language used on BGT's website. And it will actually look at your website and it'll go, okay, this is the language that's used, this is the sort of tone and style, and it'll change your email to match that tone and style. So that's what I mean about context. Examples. Now, do you remember I showed you that little plus symbol and it said you can upload documents? So a really powerful use case for ChatGPT is to take the best communication you've done. So you trawl through your emails and go, oh, I'm really proud of this email, it's really, really good, or this is exactly the way I like my emails to sound or look like, or, you know, however you want it. The best ones you've got, copy them into one document and call that document My Style, for example. You can call it that, just a Word document. Then you can upload that Word document to ChatGPT and say, I want you to write this email, but use my style, use the document I've uploaded, My Style, as your guide for how I want it to sound like. And then now, those, instead of being generic, those emails are going to sound exactly like you and the way that you sound. So that's a really powerful trick to change the output. Because remember, most of the internet is American kind of corporate internet. So it's going to be sounding more like that. So if you want it to sound more like you can do that. And the last one, and this is I think super important, is to challenge the output. And what do I mean by that? So you can actually, I do this every single day. So when I create a article that I'm going to be posting online, I say to it, review this article as if you're my target audience, you know, who that might be. So for me, it's a lot of not-for-profit workers, yeah? So I say, review this article as if you're a not-for-profit worker. What is your feedback? And then the AI will actually critique its own work. And then you say, great, now incorporate that feedback. It'll send you a second article, you know, that's now got all that feedback put into the actual article that you've just written. Then you can say, now review it to see if it's, you know, going to be something that people on social media are going to interact with. You know, if I was going to put this article on, you know, LinkedIn, for example, is this going to be useful? Is you know, people on LinkedIn, are they going to engage with it? How to make it more engaging? And again, it will critique it, and you say, fantastic, add those critiques in, change it again. So then I've got a third article now that actually, you know, links to that target audience better. So again, so don't take your first, whatever the AI gives you that first time, don't accept it. You can always challenge it to make it better. So if we go back to that email, I can say, role, you are a comms expert, task, email to Luke about late work. Keep it professional and warm and supportive. There you go. And now, wanted to check in regarding the work that was due tomorrow. I know deadlines should you meet. Want to make sure you feel supported if running the deadline. So you can see it's quite a different tone to the email, different context. Now you could say, now you can challenge it and you say, okay, review the email from a comms expert lens. What is missing? Okay, and then it will tell you, it's giving you feedback. Tone, clarity, empathy, what's missing. Specificity of the work would be, expectation setting, clear call to action, conscientiousness. So it's giving you some ideas of how you can get it better. Now, if I had more context, I could say, okay, here's the context for some of those points. Now redraft the email knowing this context, and it will create an even better, even more targeted, even more personalized email to all of those things. All right. So give it a go. See if you can get the email that, or whatever task it was that you tried. Try using role, context, maybe not examples because we probably don't have time today, and see if you can also challenge it. When it comes back with that second iteration, challenge it, ask it, okay, if you're asking it for a decision, I always say, what's the pros and cons of this? Because the AI, especially ChatGPT, is designed to want to please you. It's designed to want to give you, the right answer. But so you always have to ask it, to prompt it to give you what's the opposite. So what's the pros and the cons? What is it? What's working and what's not working? How did it go?
I'm sending out a demand letter for an account, so.
Fantastic, there you go. So, role is, a communication expert in, account recovery.
I'm sending it to a large corporation.
Ah, there you go.
So
So
change the
that's the
wording.
context. That's the context, yep.
Yeah.
And maybe with the challenge, what you could do with the challenge is say, how can I make this email so that they'll actually take action? What's missing in here so that they'll actually take action? Ask it that, see what it comes back with.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, this is for the specific example about an email asking for someone to take action. You can actually challenge the AI and say, okay, review your draft. Will this email actually cause action, or is there a way to make it, cause action more? You're trying to get someone to cause action, and you can challenge the LLM to help you with that. So any other examples? How did it go? Like, did people find that it's coming up with a better product?
Yeah, you can change it in different versions of it.
Yeah, you can say, keep the tone friendly, keep the tone warm, keep the tone professional. You can even do, I had some people commenting on some of my social media, and they were really out there comments, like, they were like weird. And I was like, okay, how do I respond to this comment in a way that's, polite, but tries to shut the communication down? Because I don't want them to responding anymore, because they're just flooding my thing. How do I shut this conversation down in a polite, respectful way, but also show other people that it's okay to keep engaging in conversation? Yeah. And it came up with this really nice little line for me that I said, okay, yep. And of course I tweak it. Like, I don't just accept it. In the end, you copy and paste it, but it's not the end. You can also tweak it yourself. Heaps of times. For some reason, large language models love those M dashes. Those little lines. They love those M dashes. Now, in my instructions, I actually say avoid M dashes. It still doesn't avoid M dashes. Like, it still has them. So I go through my articles and I get rid of the M dashes because that's not the style I want. But yeah, they just love it for some reason. It must be deep in their training to use them. All right, are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so practical example 2. Now, what we've seen is using AI to create like a little mini product, like something like a social media post, an email. really good for reports as well. So I've had one client who used to take 4 hours to do a report that they had to do like a monthly report. What they found was, using the AI, the AI was able to figure out what parts of the report actually needed changing and what parts was kind of like just the structure of the report, and created a template for them, and so it turned a 4-hour task into a 1-hour task. So that's another useful use case of it. But AI can also, like I said, it's really good at taking huge amounts of data and summarizing it. So wherever you've got a task where you need to do sort of a desk review or research or find out the latest. Just before this workshop started, I was talking about how, I couldn't connect my laptop to the HDMI TV. So I got the AI to help me work out what product do I need to turn, to get this old laptop connected to an HDMI. And then it found me, said it's like the Officeworks, it's this product, you need this exact thing, and it showed me a picture of it. Because I'm not a tech person, yeah? So it was amazing to see how it could do that for me. So I find, AI-powered research and summarization is really useful. And again, you can use the AI to help you come up with a better prompt. So you're getting the AI to create its own input. So there's a website called perplexity.ai, which I find is really useful for doing research. It's really powerful, but it only gives you 3 free deep researches. You don't have to go through Perplexity AI. A lot of these companies keep, when they see one company is doing something, they also start to copy it. So I can't remember who asked me about deep research. Yeah. So the deep research thing within ChatGPT also does this. Now, the reason I like Perplexity is because Perplexity gives you every source that it's getting the information from really clearly. Now, you can get ChatGPT to do that as well. That is now a function that it's able to do, but like 6 months ago, it couldn't do that. So these functions keep changing and updating, which is great for us. But yeah, so you can get this done on ChatGPT as well. So if you don't want to, you don't have to change where you're going, but you can do this research, like I said, on perplexity.ai. So what's something that we want to find out about? Like, what's something that what's a task that you might need to do some review of what's going on? Or like you guys are in the TAFE sector, is that correct? Like you assess TAFE courses and things like that?
One of the departments does.
Yeah, one of the departments do that, okay. So wouldn't it be interesting to know what's the current best practice approach in non-English speaking countries? Yeah, so you could say something like, I want to find out about
You can speak in
like education.
Yeah, and it does it overseas. Yeah.
No, the answers are like still the
Best practice.
things as the same one.
Oh, what?
Yes.
How? How does it do that?
Like if you measure a food item, no name is strong.
It's insane, isn't it? It found entire family trees last week.
Okay, so if you see here,
How long? 200 years.
I've put in just that really little prompt here, just saying, I want to find out about TAFE-like education in non-English speaking countries and best practice. What would be a good prompt to do a deep research on this topic? So very simple, one sentence, right? And it's given me the prompt for deep research. So here you go, that's the prompt that it's come up with. So I can then copy and paste that prompt. I can go to Perplexity, click on the deep research. The good, this is the other thing I reckon Perplexity is slightly better, is that you can actually, attach files, sorry. You can actually tell it where to search the sources, so you can do just general web search, or you can do academic, so just from academic papers. Or you can do social media, so if you're doing like a marketing campaign or something and you just want to know what's going on in the social media space, you can click on that. Or if it's a finance question, you've got finance. So you can actually turn on and off where you want it to find things from. And then you can paste that in, and then it will start thinking about it.
So you do that like you.
And now it's working. So it's actually going away and finding out about stuff. And it will tell you at the end. It does take a little bit of time. So if there is a topic that you're interested in, work topic, not work topic, that's fine. Give it a go. So if you're doing this in ChatGPT, remember to click the plus button and do the, oops. Maybe because I haven't got this on, I haven't got it on my mode. Temporary chat. Okay, if I did new chat, you can click on the deep research mode. Now, okay, so that's, it's got web searches, but yeah, it doesn't actually have the other ones that you have in Perplexity. Okay, I thought maybe they changed it on me even from this morning, because that happens sometimes, where they add extra functionality. So you just click it on the research and then put in your research question there. But like I suggested, get the AI to actually come up with the prompt for the research, and it'll be a much fuller research than if you just put in a general, because again, if you just put in a general, like what is TAFE like in other countries, that's very broad. It's just going to give you a very broad, generic sort of answer. If you ask it to be more specific on the topic you're actually interested in, you're going to get a much better quality answer. So let's see, what has it done? Oh, it's still working. It's nice to see a computer work for once, isn't it? I might. It's really gone hardcore on the where it's getting information from. Let's see that nice. I don't want to stop it completely, because if I stop it, it won't do the summary as well for me, which I wanted to show you, because that's the thing that I love about it, is taking all of this information from across the whole web, and these are academic sources, and then they'll turn it into a 1 or 2 page summary for you, which gives you something to start with, but then as you get interested in a specific part of that topic, you can actually click on the links where it's taking the information from, which I think is the power of this model.
So a few months ago, I asked them, there were 4 teams on our soccer group, so I asked them to create a roster so that another team does not play 2 consecutive matches, the same team does not play 2 consecutive matches.
Yeah, great.
It created a roster,
Yeah.
and it said, oops, sorry, I made a mistake, and did it again. It did it 15 times, until I said, it's not possible, how are you still doing it?
Yeah.
It was pushing itself.
Because it's trying so hard to please you, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So
I mean, you're a high taskmaster.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even possible, how are you doing this?
yeah, it's gonna try, yeah. And see, that's the pitfall, because it's not gonna think of it from that top angle where it's going, okay, is this task possible even? You know, it's not going to ask that question, it's just going to dive straight into it. There is a thing called chain of thought prompting, where you actually can tell it, step out the problem before you tackle it. So that's a little bit more advanced, but it's called chain of thought. So if you're interested in that stuff, just look up chain of thought prompting. And chain of thought prompting is basically telling the AI to think about the problem first before trying to tackle it. So yeah, it's in those kind of specific use cases where you have it trying to do logical kind of tasks like that. Yeah, creating rosters is a great example of where you might want it to stop, don't go straight into trying to create the answer, but stop and actually tell me what are your processes for getting to the answer, then go and do the answer. Yep. All right, here we go. So this is create analysis based on vocational systems in other places. It's got the German dual system. Look, this is not anything I know. Germany, the gold standard dual system. It's got Switzerland, Finland, governance and funding structures.
Which is more?
Curriculum, accessibility and equality. What's this? It's got transferable elements. So as you can see, it's pretty massive international organizations. Synthesis and recommendations. So that's the whole report, and then what you can do is, you can see here it's got sources. So if you click on sources, it'll actually tell you where it's got it, and it's actually looked up 146 academic articles to come up with this answer. So, you know, that's a pretty impressive amount of research it's done in those 3 minutes, yeah? And then it'll actually quote where it's, as it comes with its answer, you can actually just click on the links for that specific part. So, and here it actually tells you the steps. What did it do to actually get to the answer? So what did it think through? So that bit more about that thinking. And so if you go here, so for example, You know, so here it says South Korea has developed blah blah blah, and France's ultimate system, structured pathways, and then it's got the sources. So it's that source plus 4 others. So it actually shows you where it's getting the information from. And I like that more because then you can feel a bit more secure that it's not just making stuff up.
You can go in and research it independently.
That's right, you can go and check because in the end, it's on us. Like if we're going to be presenting this information, it's on us to make sure that's correct, yeah? Of course, the other real trick here is some of those sources. I mean, this one should be okay because it's academic sources, but if you're doing a general web search, be careful because of course, anybody can put anything on the internet, right? So there was a famous case, I think 2 years ago now, the LLM recommending eating rocks as part of a nutritious balanced diet because someone had put up, eating rocks as a part of a nutritious balanced diet, and so the AI was quoting from that, source. So just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true, yeah? Was it Benjamin Franklin? Quote from Benjamin Franklin. Okay. All right. So, how'd you guys go?
Mine is still searching.
Still thinking? Yep.
29 sources.
Yep. Anyone else? Has anyone else's AI managed to do a quick research?
I did a information on bone density in women.
Okay. Yep.
So it came up with all the information that I already know anyway, but then it gave all the references to go to and other options of things that you could research at the same time.
Yeah. And that's it. It's not going to come up with anything novel, yeah? LLMs don't do that. What they do is it's going to always be referencing other stuff. So if you're an expert in an area, you'll find that the LLMs are not giving you anything new. But when you're not an expert in an area, it can give you a leg up. Yeah. Excellent. Anyone else find it useful for something just now?
I'll ask them to choose 3 ETF in Australian Stock Exchange.
Yes.
I can retire by the age of 40.
Yeah.
So it's still looking.
Still looking, yeah. Yeah, I think you're given an impossible task again. You might have to do change code like, what do you need to know about, what's the context there?
3 ETFs, just suggest me 3 ETFs so that I can invest in Australian Stock Exchange so that I can retire by
Does
the
it
age.
do forecasting like that?
So it's compounding itself.
Well, again, so let's think about, so it's a really great question.
Would the stock exchange use it, like for the probability?
Possibly, like I haven't seen any research showing that yet, but I'm sure there are private companies that are trying to work out ways of harnessing this technology for that. But let's think about how AI works. So what it does is it's taken your input, so find the ETFs, right, in Australian Stock Exchange, it's broken them down into the tokens, and then it's mapped those tokens against what's the most likely answer. So probably it's going through all the internet searches for, ETFs in Australia, then, and so forth. So it's not going to be able to predict the stock because an LLM doesn't know what a stock is. It has no idea what that means, right? It's just a token on a map. Yeah. So it can't predict anything. All it can do is tell you what's the most likely answer, taking your information and mapping it against all the information it's got in its training.
In that context, then, if you were using it for accounting and budgeting, could you use it to do a forecast if it has?
Yeah, in that case you probably can, definitely.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't use something like ChatGPT for that. For a couple of reasons. One is
basic information in, but don't put any personal stuff in there. So
it could definitely do something like that. But I'd probably use something that's a bit more specifically in accounting software. Because again, when you're looking at something like ChatGPT, it's really good at language tasks because that's what it's for. It's a large language model. It's good at language tasks. As soon as you start getting to maths and maths tasks, it's getting better by the day. Like, it is incredible how far it's progressed, but it's still not its strong suit. I'd use, things that there are sort of programs that are more specifically in that niche.
Because it always amazes me about accounting programs that gives you the forecast.
I'd do a research, like go into Perplexity and say what would be the best, accounting software using AI to help with forecasting. I'd do that. Like I personally, it's not something I do, so I'd be just I'd be making up an answer. I'd be hallucinating. It's human hallucination at that point. But it can do the research for you. Like, what are the pros and cons of using these different ones? Like, I've done that where I've been trying to find specific programs to do things, and I'll get the large language model to go and review it and say, what are people saying about this program? What are its pros and cons? What is it good at? What is it not good at? That sort of stuff. And then it'll come up with a really good, robust list. What I've noticed though is when it comes to the price, the price, I don't know where it's getting the pricing information from, it's often very wrong. So in the table it says, this will cost you $20 a month, and I go to the actual website and it's like $40 a month or something like, what?
Maybe
so,
is that the company that puts
yeah,
no,
so there might
it's
be information on the net that's like,
Yeah.
10 years ago someone said, I bought this for $20 a month, and the AI's, reference that. So that's the problem. So don't trust it for pricing, but in terms of, what are people saying about it, what's the general sentiment of this product, it's pretty good at that. Okay. So, a couple of quick warnings. Like I said, there's AI bias. So we've talked about it a little bit before, but you've got to be really careful because input in is input out. So the training data that the AI has is all the stuff that's on the web, and that's what you're going to get out of it as well. So if it's wrong from the source, then it's going to be wrong in the output. So always, use your own human brain and your human judgment when you get the answers from the AI. Don't just believe it with whatever it says. And also those subtle things that come out. Like I said, the male-female divide thing comes out in the training data, so it's there. And also AI can be what's known as conformity. So, sorry, I didn't catch your name at the back.
Niche.
Niche, thanks Niche. So you had a really great example of what AI conformity is. So you gave it a task, and it went away and tried to do that task, even though that task is impossible, and it just kept trying and trying and trying. It's because an AI is designed to try to please you. Okay, it's a people-pleasing algorithm, and so it's always going to say that you're correct, even if you're completely wrong. So a funny one I saw a couple of days ago, where someone said, "Is a deep fried chip salad a healthy option?" Oh yeah, that's an interesting new take on potatoes and blah blah. And so it'll always try to give you the pros, which is why in your prompt always say what are the pros and cons. Always tell it, because you say I'm not going to be happy unless you tell me what's wrong with this idea, and then it'll go, oh, here's what's wrong with the idea. Yeah, it's because it's one that pleases you. So you got to use that to your advantage. If it's going to please you, at least give me both sides of the argument. Yeah. Privacy and data security. I'm bang on about it, but please, this is a really important one because everything you put in there is accessible. As the court case in America showed, they were able to produce everything that anyone has ever put into the AI. It's there, and it can be put into a court record in America. If you don't like America, you can use DeepSeek, but that's just as public, I'm sure, and open for the Chinese servers. So, we don't have Australian servers, except there is Microsoft says that they keep their data on Australian servers, so they're under Australian law. So that's probably a little bit more protection, but then again, they're still a big giant company and they can do whatever they want. So it's, whatever you put in there, it's going to be, my rule of thumb is don't put in stuff that you wouldn't want to see publicly. And finally, responsible AI use. In the end, it's on us as the people to verify and critically analyze what's going on. Now, some people say, oh, but Alex, so what's the point then? If I have to check all the work that it's doing, is it any value? And I guess it comes down to your preferred styles, because I know some people, for me, if someone hands me something and I got to edit and look at it, that tends to be faster than having to come up with something completely fresh. So that's my style, so I'm getting a lot of use out of it. But if you find it easier to create something from scratch and editing is really difficult or not something that you prefer, then maybe you can use AI in a different way. There are different ways of approaching using AI. And the more you use it, the more you find your own personal style. But in the end, any product you present, that's on you, right, as a professional. Yep. As machines get better at being machines, we have to get better at being human. So hopefully you taking away from today, AI, safe to use. You can get on there, chuck in your ideas, get outputs out of it. You can challenge those outputs, and you can use those prompt engineering. So just those tips and tricks on how to tell it which part of the map to look at. Things like role, context, and challenging it, always getting it to do it better. And I'm encouraging you, just try, if you're not using AI at the moment, just give it a go for one small task this week and see how that goes. You're not going to be able to get more confident in using it unless you start using it, basically. That's my challenge to you.
When you're going on to, you don't have to use these apps, because when you open up Google or MSN or whatever it is, that is an AI anyway. If you type in a question, So that's another.
So just your general searches. Yeah, so if you do a Google search, Google's now incorporated AI into its searches. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. It's evolving so quickly because like even 6 months ago, Google searches weren't
No.
AI enhanced, right?
Yeah.
But then they realised people are
AI.
going to AI to get the information, and so Google's freaking out. And this is a complete aside, but one of the really interesting things that is happening at the moment is companies used to be always worried about SEO, so the search engine optimization, so making sure their website was first on Google. But AI doesn't use SEOs in its searches. It's a totally different ballgame. So people are now really freaking out about how they're going to get web traffic to their websites. Yeah.
How do they then?
So it's kind of interesting. So
Other than paid advertising.
so the AI does use Google's API to call on information. So SEO still does impact it, but it's not the only way it gets information. It's also getting information through, it's like a reliability or trust score. And so what it does is it checks websites based on how much they are linked to other sites. Kind of like the ratings basically that websites have got. And so it then goes to those sources and preferences those sort of sources. So it's going to be a whole new game now of people trying to work out how to game AI.
Yeah, I tried it yesterday, just the Google one. I just like typed in a question. I was like, okay, so it's giving me this information.
Yeah.
And now you said that, I'm thinking when you're searching for, say, a tradesperson or something, now we're not going to know because it's got no reference, has it? The SEO isn't going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, so it still does make some difference. Because at first people thought it made no difference, but tests have shown that it does still make. No, it still makes. Now, even within the AI search, it still makes some difference because they are calling on Google to do some of the searches, but it's not the only way it's searching. So that's the interesting part. So I'd love your feedback. If you can go on that, there's a bit.ly link there. So just go to bit.ly and then /46pltmk. I couldn't get it any smaller, unfortunately. I would really love it. It's a 4-question survey, so it really won't take you any time at all. If you have any more questions, you can check out my website. Very happy for you guys to email me if you've got any questions about AI. Like I said, my mission is to get this technology to the not-for-profit sector. So anything I can do to help you guys use it and use it for the good that you guys are doing, then I'm really glad to be part of that.
What's involved in the advanced training?
So what next? So the next course that I offer is what's known as Amplify AI. So what we go through is, remember how I said prompt engineering, you get like 90% of the worth of your prompt engineering from those 3 kind of key points that I've raised. But I kind of went a bit further. So the next one is taking a prompt, a really, really big structured prompt, which takes your role. So you input in your role description, and then it gets the AI to create what's known as a matrix, where it's got an 8x8 matrix of breaking your role down into 8 sort of core functions, and then 8 outputs, and then it has an AI experiment or AI augmentation for each of those functions. And so it kind of creates basically a mini experiments, 64 mini experiments where AI can enhance your role.
So it's like a personalised service, really.
Yeah. So you can look at basically break down your job into 64 bits, and of them it'll show you how AI can either automate or enhance those bits of your role. So really kind of powers up what you can then do with the AI. So it's not sort of just one-on-one products, but it's actually changing your workflow, how you actually do things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because I use Chatbot a fair bit, I explore Chatbot, but I found it really interesting. My